How's it going, folks? It's Monday, so let's get into the Monday agenda. So it is the Monday off an international week, so there's not that much to talk about, but a few stories that broke last week after I'd done the video that I want to get to, and I'm starting with Scott Brown because obviously that is the biggest news of last week. Scott Brown is officially off and he's going to Aberdeen, and it is a massive loss for Celtic because I did make a video a couple of weeks ago talking about the Celtic squad and who's going to be there and who's going to be left, and I did think that Scott Brown would have been an important figure to have at the club in this transitional period where there's a new manager coming in, there's going to be tons of players leaving the club, and I just thought it would have been a smart move from Celtic to keep him in the side and even just keep him in the squad, keep him around the stadium so that he's there for the younger players coming in, the new players coming in and the new manager coming in, which is massively important to have a leader of Scott Brown's quality in the squad. In terms of his Celtic career, some people questioning whether or not he is a Celtic legend. In my eyes, he absolutely is. He's won 28 trophies with Celtic. He's been here since 2007. He has been a massive stalwart in the squad throughout that period, through bad times, through good times, through Celtic's most successful period as a club. He is 100% a Celtic legend. In terms of his actual footballing ability, was he the best, most technical player that Celtic have ever had in midfield? No. Was he the best ball winner that Celtic have ever had in midfield? No. Is he up there with one of the best Celtic leaders? Yes, he absolutely is. Because to be trusted in Europe and all throughout the domestic season as well by Gordon Strachan, by Neil Lennon, and by Brendan Rodgers as well. Don't forget that he was still the starting centre mid under Brendan Rodgers in that period where Celtic were passing the ball around. He had the ability to adapt to these squads and adapt to Europe as well. He played 127 times in Europe altogether, so that's Europa League and Champions League, but that doesn't include the knockout stages as well. So he has been trusted by all these managers at the biggest stage, so you don't get that without having some sort of ability about you. So I'm not having any of this argument that Scott Brown was just a wind-up merchant on the pitch and he was only there to act the hard man. He actually had some footballing ability as well, and I think that is forgotten. So I do want to put that out there. Scott Brown clearly is not Xabi Alonso or anyone of that standard, but he served a purpose and he did it well, and he was trusted by brilliant managers on the biggest stage. So there's absolutely no denying that Scott Brown was a good player as well as being a really good leader. So he's going to be a massive loss for Celtic over the next year or so, especially when this new manager comes in, when there's new players betting in. And it was a really good decision from Aberdeen to bring him in. And I think that Brendan Rodgers actually came out a couple of days ago talking about Scott Brown, and he has pegged him as a future Celtic manager because, and that doesn't surprise me at all, because a player like Scott Brown, when you don't have the passing ability of a Xabi Alonso or the ball winning ability of Victor Wanyama, you do have to adapt, and you have to adapt your game, and you have to be able to learn quickly. And I think Scott Brown proved that, especially under Brendan Rodgers. Anybody who watched Celtic throughout that season would have seen the improvements in Scott Brown's game and the just how he was able to adapt at an older age. The question that has been raised on Twitter by Rangers supporters is Scott Brown running away at the first sign of a challenge? Well, no, he's not, clearly, because he was also part of the Celtic teams that were playing against Rangers and winning trophies before Rangers went bust. So he's clearly not doing that. Also, he's 35 years old. He was either going to do this or retire. So I don't know what the logic is behind that. So I think Scott Brown, absolutely phenomenal player for Celtic over the last couple of years, over the last 15 years, and he will be a massive loss to the club. Speaking of people leaving the club, there have been a couple of players leaving on loan. Luke O'Connell has gone on loan to Queen Park, and Ewan Henderson has gone on loan to Dunfermline. He actually made his debut the other day, and this is starting to worry me a little bit because Celtic have so many players out on loan and so many players in on loan that is just a terrible transfer policy at the minute. On loan at the minute, Olivier Ntcham is obviously there with Marseille. He's not playing at all for them. Bolly Bolingoli is gone. Jack Henry is out on loan. Ousseff Bayo is out. Ewan Henderson is with Dunfermline, as I mentioned, and Luke O'Connell with Queen's Park. Then if you think about Celtic's loanees, who they have in the squad at the minute, Shane Duffy's there, Laxalt's there, John Joe Kenny's there. Multiple players in the club on loan. El Younoussi's still technically on loan as well. So we have all these players out on loan, we have all these players in on loan. And if you actually look at Celtic's core squad, there's about 4 players in the starting 11 that is still going to be at the club next year, and no sign of anybody coming into the club except for a couple of, Liam Shaw came in at defence, but that's about it. And it's just worrying for me that Celtic still don't have a manager, and we're nearing the end of the season, and we are staring into the abyss in terms of players coming in. With the Euros coming up this year as well, it's going to be even more difficult to get players in. So I think next season is going to be another year of loans and loanees coming in and loanees going out. And it's just, that is not a sustainable way to run a football club the size of Celtic. They need to be bringing in players full time so that they can see the benefit of developing them and then selling them on. And I know Celtic's financial situation is a little bit difficult to see where we're at the minute because of COVID and because we haven't got the final year accounts. But it's really, really worrying for me that Celtic are sending these younger players out on loan, especially now when the league's over. Why not get Luke O'Connell into midfield and Ewan Henderson into midfield to firstly bed them into first team experience, show them what it's like to play for Celtic Football Club, and see if they're good enough at this point in time. The split is happening. There's only a couple of games left. Rangers have already won the league. Don't play them in the Scottish Cup because the Scottish Cup matters. But I mean, what is to lose with keeping these players in the club at this period in the season for the end of the season? And then if they're not good enough, send them out on loan next year, see if they develop. Why are they sending them out now? That just does not make any sense to me. And I think we're absolutely just losing talent right, left and centre from Celtic Football Club. And no sign of bringing anybody in. So that is really frustrating for me. But it doesn't really surprise me, because if you look at item number 3, which is disconnect, it is the disconnect between the club and the fans and everything that's going on this year and what's happening and why decisions are being made. And I don't think you can look any further than Dermot Desmond's statement last week and the final paragraph where he says, "With every board appointment we make, we undertake a thorough recruitment process of researching, investigating, interviewing and negotiating, unknown to all except Celtic board members. That will be the same process that is being implemented in recruiting our new managers." So this comes in to everything that has happened this season, from the COVID situation, the ticket situation, the season ticket situation, the management, the coaching staff, Ballin goalie, the trip to Dubai, the Lennon situation, if he's going to keep his job, the January or the New Year review that was supposed to happen, and now the management situation where Roy Keane was favoured to be manager. Now Eddie Howe has jumped up the list in terms of who's going to be manager. Fergal Harkin was supposed to be appointed last week, didn't happen, and everybody has been in the dark except for apparently the Celtic board. So that for me points that either he is saying that we've got this under control and everything is happening behind the scenes and that has been the way all year, or they're making it up as they go along. And it continues to be this disconnect between the fans and the board and the club. And that is not going to work in their favour at all, because I've spoken to multiple people who have said they're not going to renew their season ticket next year because of the situation this year. And you can think about them whatever way you want, but there is a serious disconnect between the club and the fans this year. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows what the logic is behind these decisions, the loan decisions. Why are they being made? Nobody understands anything that is going on. And the disconnect is growing between the fans and the board. And I guarantee you, if the fans were in the stadium this year, some of the things would not happen. And I do think the board are getting away with a lot this season because the fans simply cannot go out and support the club. The fans simply cannot be there to protest, and it's really frustrating. It's power taking advantage of their power while they can. So Dermot Desmond's statement last week was a slap in the face to a lot of Celtic supporters, and I'm just not at all impressed with the way that he's run things this year. I don't know what you think. What do you think of Scott Brown's career? Is he a Celtic legend? I think he absolutely is. I don't really see there's much argument behind him not being a Celtic legend. In terms of loanees, in terms of managers, in terms of Dermot Desmond, let me know your thoughts on everything that's been happening in the club over the last couple of weeks in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll chat to you later.